this is Shamika, and this is my cat Rinky, and the person who's slowly edging towards us is my husband Ishti. Our cat just left the building, so hopefully if she wants to come back and join us, we will have her here soon. But for now, I'm going to hand it over to Ishti. How's your Sunday?
So far so good. I'm excited about recording the first episode of Career Cats. And as you can see, it was supposed to be like a cozy setup with our cat sitting right here in the middle, but she ran away, so we'll just have to make do without the cat.
Yeah, I am still holding my pillow over here with the hope that Rinky will come back, so let's see if she'll be back to join us.
Yeah. So until then, let's talk about some of the stuff, what we're going to talk about in episode 1. I recently got a new job after 6 months of unemployment. It was hard, but thankfully my employment insurance helped a bit. And while I was on EI, I was like building apps on the side so that in the future, in case layoffs happen, I will have like a stream of income on the side. And some of the apps I've built is Resume Hog that helps you tailor your resume to every job description. You can try it without any kind of like, you don't have to enter your credit card or anything. Just go on resumehog.com, upload your resume, paste the job description, and on the other side you'll have a perfectly tailored resume that you can download as a PDF. So this is just one of the things we're going to talk about. Other stuff is like resilience. How do you stay focused and not go completely berserk while you're unemployed?
Your mental health, take care of yourself.
And I'm gonna talk about some techniques that I use that helps me land more interviews. And Dr. Shamika, she's a doctor, by the way, not a medical doctor, but she is a professor of English literature currently at CAPU. Yeah, she's got a book coming out, so let's talk about a little bit about your book and the process of getting there. So we're going to talk about all sorts of careers.
Lots to unpack, yeah.
Dr. Shamika is an expert on academic careers. I've done a little bit of tech, advertising, marketing, finance. So we're going to talk about both. But first, let's talk about your book. It's coming from Routledge, which is a major textbook publisher. Why don't you tell us about that a bit?
Absolutely. Okay, for those of you who know me, hello. And for those of you who don't, well, hello to you too. So I completed my PhD in 2023 in English literature from McMaster University in Hamilton, Canada. And my topic was on South Asian studies as well as post-colonial literature, and I also looked at gender studies. My main focus was on the 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War, and the focus of my dissertation at the time, my doctoral dissertation, was on voices and narratives of survivors of the Liberation War whose stories have yet to be recognized by the nation and have yet to be included within history, because a lot of times what happens is that sometimes dominant history tends to exclude certain voices, and there are plenty of reasons for that. I've kind of unpacked that in the context of the Liberation War in my dissertation. So that's the main focus of my doctoral thesis. Now, that has been turned into a book with several edits, the inclusion of an additional chapter where I really kind of unpack some of the multifarious intersectional identities and experiences of people who have undergone the Liberation War. So I've looked at archives as well as autobiographies and testimonials of individuals who've undergone multiple forms of violation, physical, sexual. So there's a lot of women's stories as well. And I've also looked at fiction pieces that kind of help us look at new ways of understanding sort of different people who had undergone the war and the consequences, and how we can revisit some of those stories in the post-war era, or in this time period as well, and how we can think about talking about those memories and those stories as well as experiences as a way to understand what the past was like and how also it has shaped our present and what that might look like in the future. So that's what my book addresses, and the book is being published under Routledge under the series South Asia Literature in Focus. It will be out officially around September 2026, but the book is available for pre-order on August 2026. There is a bit of a discount if the pre-order comes in by then, so I would really encourage you, and I would love for you to go check it out on the website routledge.com. And my book is called History, Memory, Gender: Remembering the 1971 Liberation War, Remembering the 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War, History, Memory, Gender by Shamika Shabnam. And we can talk about that a little bit more soon. But I also wanted to hand it over to Ishti to see if he had any additional comments on this.
So what fascinates me is how did you manage your book while doing a full-time job at CapU, and how can other academics do the same? And how does the process even get started? Did you have an agent that you called, like, hey, I want to write a book on this, or do the agent or does the publishing agent reach out to you proactively? And if yes, how do they even know how to find you? So how does, let's say someone is in academia, they want to pursue the endeavor of writing a book,
Right.
where do they get started? Do they hunt down an agent who will handle the publishing for them, or do they keep publishing articles until someone notices their work and reaches out to them? How does it work?
Right. So for me, specifically for my experience, what had happened is that I had done a lot of peer reviews for journal articles that are to be published in different journals related to South Asian literature and culture. And it is through there that I was able to get in touch with some editors, and as well as by sending in my own publications of journal articles to be published, as well as book chapters. So what I did was I kept a steady kind of line of communication and contact with various editors, just to say that, hey, here's my piece, or here's my writing, or this is my journal article that I would like to publish, or if you need any peer reviewers. This was at the time of maybe 2022 or 2021, around that time frame, where I would get in touch with editors, and I would say that if you need any reviewing. Even at that time I was a PhD student, so I'm like, if you want any PhD students to act as peer reviewer for colleagues in academia who are trying to publish their work, then I would be more than happy to do that as well. So that's how I did a little bit of peer reviewing. I also wrote reviews for different books, published some of my own articles and book chapters, like journal articles and book chapters. And then that's when editors start to notice your work, and they really start to see the topic that you focused on and what you've written on and what your contributions are. So after I finished my PhD in 2023, one of the editors reached out to me from Routledge, reached out to me and said that, would you consider providing a book proposal in order for us to change or transform your PhD dissertation into a monograph. And that's when, and that process in of itself is also quite a bit of paperwork, where I had to kind of write a proposal on what this book would be, what each chapter would include, and then the idea was also to include a fourth chapter, because that kind of aligned really well with what Routledge was looking for, South Asia Literature in Focus. And that's where the waiting game begins. After you've submitted your proposal, then editors will kind of get together and see if this proposal aligns with what they're looking for, or if this is something that could be turned into a monograph. And so lucky for me, the editors liked my proposal. They gave some changes. there's one thing like the journey from let's say your PhD dissertation to sort of a monograph is also something to consider here, because for your dissertation you are writing for your academic supervisory committee, your dissertation committee, but when it's a monograph you want to make sure that your work speaks to a broader, wider audience. This could be an academic audience, but also people who are not in academia. Like, how would you want to talk about your work, or how would you want to go about speaking about and writing about your topic and chapters in a way that appeals to, let's say, a broader readership. So that's something that I had to kind of think about as I was significantly revising my chapters and trying to ensure that it comes as an important contribution to existing work on let's say partition theory, as well as Bangladesh Liberation War scholarship as well, and various fields related to gender studies, post-colonial literature, masculinity studies, all of which kind of are integrated into my book. Now, when I got the signal, the sort of the yes, go to, now you can work on your chapters, so start working on the book so you can prepare the manuscript in order to have the final monograph. That was around 2024, and simultaneously I got a job offer at Capilano University in North Vancouver as an English instructor. So that's when I shifted from Ontario to Vancouver. Ishti, you also relocated, and yeah, our cat came as well. So now we're live in Vancouver. So at that time, so the Capilano University role is quite teaching intensive. So I in the past 2 years, I would be teaching 4 courses in one semester, which is quite a bit of a load. Ask any teacher or any instructor, any researcher or academic, they'll be able to tell you, what that load means and what it entails. So also engaging in research at that time did seem to be a little difficult because I was like, okay, now I need to pick and choose which one do I want to focus on. Here's my job, and I want to be able to, teach with dedication and focus and be there for my students, versus this monograph, which is also very important equally and needs completion. So one thing I did was I took each chapter for each semester. So let's say if it's the winter semester from September till December, I focused on chapters 1 and 2 because those ones were a bit easier or for me to kind of handle in terms of the revisions that I had received. So I'm like, okay, this is my first year at CapU, which was then 2024, I believe, and I want to make sure that I'm able to, grasp the content and teach and understand what the teaching environment is like. But so for this semester, what I'm going to do is focus on chapters 1 and 2 of my book, and try to work on it during my break time, so have teaching and research scheduled almost every day. I'm like, even if I do a little bit of research, then that will help me to kind of move forward. And I gave myself sort of a bit of a generous deadline of 4 months. I'm like, try to finish it in 4 months. It doesn't have to be finished in 4 days. So I did take a little bit of time when it came to that, because I wanted to make sure that it was quality work. But after December, I was like, okay, chapters 1 and 2 are done. Now let me handle chapter 3 the next semester. So this would be around spring of 2025. Over here in Vancouver, January to April, at least at Capilano University, would be the spring semester. And chapter 3 had quite a bit of revisions, quite a bit of theoretical aspects that I needed to consider. But by that time, I was also familiar with the CapU environment, what the teaching entails. So I was like, okay, maybe this will allow me to dedicate a little bit more time in between teaching and in between office hours to really just sit and bog down and write. So that's kind of what I did. I think one thing that helped me keep up that momentum was I would be in my office and I'm like, okay, I'm here, I'm sitting down, I have my laptop in front of me, so might as well work. So that's one thing that happened that helped me to kind of get those chapters done. And then I tackled my fourth chapter, which I kind of wrote from scratch during the summer months. During the summer months, I didn't have active teaching, but I would be engaged in other forms of university services. This is summer of 2025, and that's when I was like, okay, I have all this time. Let me dedicate this to writing up my fourth chapter as well as trying to write my introduction. So that's kind of how it happened. I took it bit by bit because this can be a colossal project and it can be quite overwhelming, but if you break it into smaller steps, then that is achievable. And I would like to say that I had an extremely supportive partner, the man who's sitting next to me. This man, I kid you not, he was like, baby, just write for like even 5 minutes. Like just sit and write for 5 minutes after. So it's 9:05 a.m. Just write till 9:10 a.m. After that, if you feel like, okay, I want to get up and I just want to do something else, then do that. Or if there was a day where I was feeling a little tired or I didn't feel like writing or I was having a writer's block, he would be like, just make little notes, just make little bullet points, and just 5 minutes. Like it doesn't have to be an hour, it doesn't have to be 2 hours. You're just gonna sit there for 5 minutes, see what can be done. That is still progress. Progress isn't linear. Sometimes progress looks like bullet points. So it was the 5-minute rule, and when I would sit down, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna work for 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes would turn into 30 minutes and then an hour, and then I would have all these paragraphs thanks to this man, my hype person right here. So yeah, the credit goes to you for like a significant amount of it. So I would say having a strong support system as well. My sister would also text me and would ask for updates and progress on how I'm doing, and that would motivate me as well. So just having a really amazing support system, whether they're here with me, like my husband, or my sister who's in Toronto, or my parents who are in my home country in Bangladesh. Any support system that's there for you. My cat is also there, like whenever I would feel nervous or anxious, she would be there. She would be purring. She loves purring, by the way. So yeah, I think your loved ones can really help you with where you want to go to, and also the goals you want to accomplish.
But just to summarize real quick, my original question: how does one get their foot in the door with a publishing agent? So it's not like you just call up a editor or a publishing agent and like, hey, I have this idea for a book. They have to cultivate a relationship
Right.
by doing some unglamorous grunt work. Is that the right way of putting it?
Yeah, or I actually honestly really liked reading some of the papers that came through, and I also like the process of like publishing things. But yes, I would say start nice and early. Do get in contact with editors, even if it's just an email that says, hello, this is what I'm doing, this is my work. I would I would be happy to write reviews on this. I'd be happy to act as peer reviewer, or follow up with them if there's a chance or an opportunity to meet them up in person, maybe for coffee or via Zoom, just to chat about their experiences. One thing that can also help is reaching out and asking what their experience is like as an editor, so kind of understanding their story and their career trajectory. So yes, I would say that it does take some work in order for you to then kind of get to your final goal of maybe publishing a monograph, or having that being done by a press that's like also recognizable, and that has a sort of a good name.
And as for the 5-minute rule, this is actually backed by neuroscience. I actually got this technique from Dr. Barbara Oakley in her book Learning How to Learn, where she mentions that when students do math, like the prospect of the idea of like, oh, I'm about to do math, it activates the pain centers of their brain. But once they actually start doing math or programming or writing a book, anything that seems very painful, like a mountain to climb, but once they get through that initial hurdle, and that's why the 5-minute rule or the 25-minute, the Pomodoro technique, 25-minute rule helps. So you just tell yourself, I'm going to get started, I'm just going to work for 5 minutes, and that turns into 30 minutes, an hour. So the hardest part is getting started. Once you get started, you will eventually enter the flow state where you, well, not the flow state, but you're going to be in the zone. Flow state takes a little while you're in the zone and you're working, then you're like suddenly in flow state where you're kind of like one with your work, and that's an incredible feeling. But I don't want to digress too much. Coming back to the point of, so writing a book is one thing, building an app is one thing, but you also need distribution. You need people to know that you're publishing, you're doing things, you need to put things out there, you need to be able to show quantifiable metrics, results. So that ties into how I found a job after 6 months of unemployment. But before I start talking about that, I want to talk about Dr. Shamika's book a little bit more. She's got her website, shamikashabnam.com, and the top of the website is a link to her book, 1971, the food.
Yeah, so my website, as Ishti said, is shamikashabnam.com. Ishti helped me build it, so we were kind of working on this together, almost as a collaborative project. And do take a look at the website. At the top of the website, there is another link that will take you directly to my book. So if for some reason you're unable to locate it online, then my website will be sure to take you there. And it's called Remembering the 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War, History, Memory, Gender. Everything will be kind of, all the details will be there at the top with the link. And thank you for helping me out with that.
No worries. Speaking of the website, if you're thinking, hey, I'm too non-technical to build my own website to showcase my work, my book, or my portfolio, you don't have to know how to code to build a website. And you don't have to use a predefined template like WordPress or Wix and make it look boring. You can have a professional website by using a tool I built called porkycoder.com. You build your website there just by chatting with an agent, and you can buy a domain from within porkycoder.com. The agent will handle all the back-end work, SSL certification, what have you. And once you purchase your domain, let's say your name is averagejoe.com. You buy averagejoe.com and you build your website, you click publish, it's online under your professional domain name, averagejoe.com. If you don't buy a domain, it'll be averagejoe.porkycoder.com. So it's that simple to have a professional looking website under your own purchase domain that already puts you a cut above other candidates or other writers, authors. Or you just want a website for
your work, if you want to showcase your artifacts and other things that you want the world to see. I was also going to ask if you could talk a little bit more about Porky Coder and kind of just break it down maybe for our non-tech users a little bit more. Like when they go into kind of working with Porky Coder, what are some things that they might encounter and how to kind of navigate Porky Coder?
So Porky Coder started off as an alternative to Cursor. But then I realized there's a completely unaddressed market who are looking for something in between Claude Code and Cursor. So Claude Code is purely terminal. Cursor is a fork of VS Code, but since it's a fork of VS Code, it makes it very bloated and heavy. So Porky Coder is something that is built from scratch, so it's very, very fast. It runs on a potato. And it also has some tools that makes it very user-friendly for a non-technical person to put up a professional website under their own domain. So they can buy their domain from within Porky Coder. They can create a website by chatting with an agent and then modify the website. So it's not just a template. You can modify, add animations. You can add all sorts of things like links to your book, links to your LinkedIn, links to your other assets online, and then you just click publish and it's live under your own name. And it comes with, you can use Claude, you can use Gemini, you can use Kimi 2.6, so it comes with, you have the freedom to choose your own model. So in a way, it's something that takes the parts I like from Replit, from Cursor, and from Claude Code and integrates them all together. And it has a very advanced terminal where you can run multi-Claude agents parallelly if you're a power user. So that's something that I built as well. But before I talk too much about Porkycoder, I also want to talk about, because this show is Career Cats, and
our cat is not here, nowhere to be found. She did come here and just have food, just like behind the camera, but like she's more like behind the scenes kind of cat.
Yeah. But I want to talk a little bit about the resilience, right? So these apps, Porkycoder, Resume Hog, the resilience of your mental fortitude while you're unemployed, because like for example, if you've grown in a South Asian household like me, a lot of your self-worth is tied to having a job, like waking up and having something to do or having somewhere to go. So even if you have money and you don't have that like a purpose when you wake up, it can cause a downward spiral pretty quickly. And also doing interviews on interviews and then not landing anything, getting ghosted, that also hits your sense of self-worth, right? So how do you maintain a strong sense of self-worth? Because there will be times when you're scared and you think, oh my God, I'm never gonna get a job again, this market is awful and this and that. But honestly, that's not true. There's still jobs out there. People are still hiring. If one industry is laying people off, other industries will absorb them. So it's just a cycle. I mean, we've seen stuff like this before during the 2008 financial crisis, during COVID. We're just going through another times of upheaval. Sometimes it's technological, sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's a pandemic. But it's just another cycle of upheaval, right? This is no worse than COVID. It's no worse than 2008 financial crisis. So the trick to survive this is giving yourself a sense of purpose. For example, something my sister-in-law taught me is like, you need to have other things beside your job that give you a sense of accomplishment. So for me, that was building apps. I enjoyed building them immensely. It gave me something to do. When I woke up, I would work on my app, fire off a few job applications for 1 hour. The rest of the day, I would work on my app. Because you don't want to be firing job applications like 30, 40, 60, 100, which was my initial MO in the beginning, where I would like apply to like 100 jobs, and then I would interview or like get ghosted from 90 of them. Out of the 10, 2 calls me for an interview, and the interview after 3-4 rounds of interview, I never hear back from them. And that like affects my sense of self-worth, my self-confidence, like, oh, maybe I'm not as good I used to think, etc., etc. Then I would go and interview for places for a lowball salary for something. Like they were offering much less than what I'm used to earning, and in the end I still didn't get the job. So I'm like, oh wow, my market value is like really low. And these thoughts come at you, they eat at you. But right now I have a job that pays more than my last job, so I didn't have to take a lowball offer. I just had to stick it out long enough, and I got the right offer, and I got my current job because of the apps I built. So they feed into each other, right? When you're able to, this is what I was talking about earlier, like able to show your work, quantifiable metrics.
Right.
Like having a book is a solid proof of your abilities. And a book it's not self-published, it's from a very famous publisher, Routledge.
Right.
So that in and of itself is a big marker of your abilities, right? Like anyone can maybe go and get a degree, but not everyone can get a book published from Routledge, right? Anyone can go and get a degree in computer science, but can they build an app end to end? Can they prove to a potential employer, like, look, not only did I build an app, I actually generated revenue, I have thousands of active users, and I'm actively maintaining a production-grade software. So these are the things. So the stuff that you do while you're job hunting, those things can become your fuel, your resources, artifacts that set you above, like give you a competitive advantage over other candidates when you're applying for a job. So for Dr. Shamika, it's her book. For me, it's my apps, Resume Hog and Porky Coder, and I'm also building other stuff on the side. So that's really it. The resilience is manufactured by working on something that gives you a sense of purpose. So your entire self-worth and sense of self-confidence cannot be tied to the job hunt process, because then it'll simply crush you. You need to have other aspects of your life that give you a sense of self-worth, like crushing it at the gym. You were able to run like 2 kilometers before. Now you're doing, after 30 days of upskilling, you're now running 5 kilometers every day, and that's a big achievement. You're building out apps, you're growing your user base, that's a big achievement. You're putting out chapters day after day, day in and day out, working on your next book. So this gives you learning a new language. These things give you a sense of achievement that keep you sane during the really long job hunt process. Because in North America, it can be 6 months to 1 year. Some people even go up to 2 years. That's a really long time, and you need to be able to maintain your sanity during that time.
And I would also like to quickly jump in to kind of just summarize some of the points you've already been saying before we kind of continue. One thing that I really liked was you kind of talked about how people's interests, like maybe their hobbies or something they're good at or something they're passionate about, are worth not only preserving but taking forward. Like let's say if somebody is interested in writing a story, let's say if somebody is interested in building an app like yourself, or if somebody is interested in artwork or sculpture or making a film, those are important. I would like to say that. Please do not suppress that. Sometimes because of maybe social reasons or other forms of socio-cultural reasons, or maybe also financial reasons, those can sometimes take a backseat, like our passions, things we love, our hobbies, aspects or activities and tasks that really bring us joy, because sometimes focusing on those can also help us uplift ourselves mentally, emotionally, and also financially, as it has happened for you. So I really liked when Ishti brought up the idea of, like, put in those chapters, just write, or just start coding, or start, creating, start building, whatever it might be. Start, cooking or making that recipe that you've been wanting to try out for such a long time, but you have been putting it off, so you never know where that would lead you, because we have the present moment. The past is gone, the present is here, which has also been shaped by the past, but then we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So that's where a lot of the decisions that we take now are going to help us kind of shape and construct the kind of future that we want. And also, I think, Ishti, you mentioned that, hey, having some kind of movement or like a workout regime can help you with your mental health, and also, your physical health, and any goals that you might have around that arena. But I would also like to say that job losses can be very, very hard. It can affect you emotionally. It can be deeply traumatizing. If it's tied to your, let's say, sense of identity in certain ways, that can also impact how you see yourself, your selfhood, and also that can trickle into sort of your daily activities and people around you and your loved ones as well. I would like to remind you that these are also very, very hard times, and do take the time, do spend time with yourself. If there's like a day where you just need to stay in bed and figure things out, or a day where you just need to take a walk or sit at a coffee shop, and or if there's a day where you just need to cry, all of those things are okay, because these are deeply difficult times. It is emotional, it affects you, and some people might have the privilege of not having to worry about finances immediately, but others don't, especially those who live paycheck to paycheck. It could be very taxing, and your sense of identity will get impacted, because it's not only about how you tie your identity to a job, but it's also how socially and maybe generationally and systemically how those narratives have been fed over and over again, for people to then think that, oh, okay, if I have a job, then I'm worthy, or if I'm going to work, or I'm commuting to work, or I'm working from home, I have a 9 to 5, then I'm worthy. But as difficult as it is to maybe come to terms with this for many, your worth is not tied to your job, as HD said. There are so many other factors and so many other aspects that make you you. Job losses can be a very, very difficult time, or switching from one job to another, being in between jobs, that's a very tough time. And sometimes it's like, oh, okay, how will my partner see me now? Because they were used to another version of me. So there could be a lot of thoughts that come in, and it's okay. And sometimes you're not going to be able to process everything in a way that's quote-unquote positive or quote-unquote empowering, So give yourself that time, give yourself that break. Maybe there's a burnout because of your job, and now that you're in between jobs, this could also be a time to take a little bit of break before you venture into something new and something else you'd want to do. So I think it's also important to kind of remember that, yes, if you want to run 5 miles, then go ahead, or 5 kilometers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then of course that's there. But if you also need to just rest, if you also need to just sleep, if you also need to maybe just express your emotions in a different way that will allow you to kind of cope with what's going on, then those are there as well.
100%. And a lot of what you just said ties into mental health, right? So it's a slippery slope, because I'm telling, let's say, people like, oh yeah, build an app, go for a run, do like paint and sing and take up ballet lessons, but there's like financial constraints, especially when you're out of work. But bigger than that, when you're out of work, first couple of weeks, at least for me, it was amazing, and then it's very easy to fall into depression, and that's where you want to be ultra careful, because you're depressed, you don't want to do anything on the side because you're depressed, and then when you go for job interviews, you take that negativity with you, and when they're interviewing candidate, they want like a positive go-getter, and it's very hard to fake when you're depressed, right? So don't be afraid to seek out help for mental health. It's important to remember life is much bigger than finding a job or a source of income. That's not the entirety of life. That's a portion of your life. And another thing is, talk to a therapist. There's cheaper options available if you can't afford a fancy therapist. Talk to a psychiatrist. Like if you were diabetic, you would seek medical help and you would probably get medication for that. But it's same, like just like diabetes or a broken arm, your brain can also suffer injuries from a major life change like getting laid off. And just like diabetes, for mental health, it's okay to take medication. There's a lot of stigma around it, especially in Asian culture, and South Asian culture. But it's just like another ailment in your body. If you had an upset stomach, you would get meds for it. If you had food poisoning, you would get meds for it. If you had diabetes, you would get meds for it. So if your mind is broken because of a massive life change, you're not weak for seeking help from a therapist or a psychiatrist and getting meds. And because it's very important to stay resilient during the job hunt, as it's a marathon. It's a 6-month, 1-year marathon, and you need to be able to have your spirits up during this downtime. And that's where I did see a therapist. It helped me a lot, and I did get a lot of mental health support, which helped me get back up on my feet and working on my apps, Resume Hub, Porky Coder. I grew the customer base for Resume Hub. And since I was job searching myself, I knew what other job searchers needed. They needed a way to quickly tailor their resume to each job description that that really increases, if you're not getting any interviews, that's really something you want to look into, because these days there's advanced ATS systems, advanced AI screening systems that give you scores based on how closely your resume matches the job description. So if you're not tailoring, you're probably missing out on a lot of extra interviews, right? So yeah, stuff like that where you maintain your resilience in the face of a dark storm by getting support from your loved ones. Don't seclude yourself in isolation, like, oh, I don't have a job, I don't want to go out and have fun. That's the last thing you want to be able to do. Like, be frank with your friends, like, hey, I don't have the money to go to a fancy bar, can we go to a cheaper place, or maybe at the park, or for a hike that doesn't cost a lot, because I still want to hang out with you guys. I just, like, I'm a little tight on finances. If they're your real friends, they will understand, right? So while I was unemployed, like, usually me and my wife, we eat out at like some of the nicer places we used to eat at, we kind of dialed back on those and went to like more casual places, or cooked more frequently at home. But important thing is I spent time with my wife and our larger group of friends, and I kept my mental fortitude by seeking out, by talking to my therapist. And these people that I surrounded myself with, they gave me the strength I needed to keep building apps on the face of rejection after rejection, and to keep growing Resume Hog. And then when I finally got my current job as an AI engineer, I could show them, like, hey, this is what I can do, build things end to end, integrate AI seamlessly into my solutions, and help thousands of customers, land their dream job, right? So yeah, I think that's all I have to say for today's show, Dr. Shamika.
That was it. I was just like, so lost in what you were saying. I was like, yes, all of this is good. You're dropping gems. But yeah, that's it from us for today. If you liked what we said, if it resonated with you, please do leave a comment or any feedback. This is our first video, so we're still experimenting, so we would love to learn from you, share your ideas, keep those communication channels open. If this video meant something for you, or it did something good for you, please do like and subscribe to our channel. And it was lovely chatting with you and also chatting with Ishti here. And then we promise that in our next few videos, well, we can't really promise that because it depends on her, on what she likes, but we will try to have more Rinky presence, the presence of our cat.
That's our cat.
Yeah, and her energy, or hope one day she will, like, sit on this pillow. I will put this pillow in our next videos as well, hoping that Rinky will climb on it and just rest and do her thing. So until then, we will see you next week, and let us know what you'd want us to talk about. We would love to hear from you. If there's any topic that you're itching to kind of have someone talk about, do let us know.
All right, take care.
Bye.